Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. Hope you're all doing well and coping with the lockdown. We're all going a little bit mad here. Special K's gone as mad as a hatter, so I had to get that down on paint for a start. The second thing is I've had a nice sharp haircut because I was a bit upset that my hair got in one of the videos and spoilt it. So I've had it all chopped off. I'm not broken any social distancing rules. Special K is a hairdresser and she chopped it all off for me. So I'm happy with that. I'm liking it. I'm liking how it looks. This is, as I say, a painting Special K dressed up as a Mad Hatter. And she made a video of herself actually doing this makeover. I'll put a link in the description so you can have a look at it if you want. It's on Facebook. In the meantime, I don't want to say anything else about this. I just want to get into the painting because it's a really personal painting and I love doing it. So let's just get into it. So I'm sort of taking a step back with this video. Painted in Procreate. The very first video I ever posted on YouTube was painted in Procreate, and it was done like this, where I've got the photograph on the left hand side and then I'm working on the right hand side. And I used to the first few videos, well, more than a few, I've done, there's over 450 videos that I've uploaded now. I didn't realize I'd made so many actually, but when I first started, I didn't work in a studio like I do now. I just had an iPad on my lap and I'd sit at on a settee painting away and recording on the iPad. And a lot of those videos were done like this. And this is one. And I've gone right back to basics. On the very first portraits that I painted, I used to use 3 brushes nearly all the time, and the first brush I'd use would be the Grunge brush, is what I'm using here. And then I would just get in basically a sort of a rough texture over the whole of the canvas with sort of an abstract view of where I'm going to put the main character. And you can see here that although I'm putting these sort of colours in, I'm leaving a rough shape where I think Special K is going to be. And I work like that. So it's a very unusual way of painting. I'm not following any rules where I sketch anything out. I just start by putting in these really abstract patterns and gradually filter those down and refine them, continually refining them until I get a finished painting. And you can see this evolving now. So I'm using the Grunge brush, and all of the other videos I've ever done before have always been speed paint. So you've never really seen the detail that I put into it. I always did a voiceover. And I recorded the voiceover after the painting, exactly as I'm doing now. But this painting, the reason I've sort of gone back to basics is it was at the weekend. Kerry and I were both stuck in the house. We sat in the conservatory. She was doing some drawing on her iPad because she likes to sketch and paint as well. In fact, she uploaded her very first video of an app she paints with at the weekend on Facebook. And it's open, open to the public, so anyone can watch it. So if you want to check that out, look for Kerry Itchin on Facebook, and you might find a painting video. And give her a thumbs up and say Steve sent you. That would be really cool. Anyway, she was doing that, so I just sat on the settee and I thought I'll do some painting as well. And this is what I chose to do. Now, Kerry also does sort of makeup stuff and runs an online channel for that on Facebook. And because what she does is sort of like a makeover once a week or so, or she has been doing during lockdown. And I suggested that she does the Mad Hatter because she had to do a Disney theme, or wanted to do a Disney themed character. And I said, well, we're all going mad in lockdown. Why don't you do the Mad Hatter? So she did. And I took these pictures and I thought they'd make a really cool painting. So Kerry's going mad in lockdown. Or I say Kerry, I mean Special K, of course. Special K is going mad in lockdown. And I'm doing this painting of her. So now you can see I'm switching brushes, and I've gone to the turpentine brush. So I've sort of got my grungy background in. I've locked that layer, so I can't do anything else to it now. And then I work on a second layer. The old painting is produced in 3 layers, and there's a reason for that. Because I'm not done, you can see I've not measured anything out. I'm not very naughty of me, but I was just too lazy. I just wanted to go in and start painting. So the tool that I use extensively throughout this process is the cut tool. So we'll see that coming into action in a minute. So if I want to cut a part of Special K out, say I painted her hand and I want to move it slightly or change the size of her head or something, if I've got it all on different layers, I can't do it. Well, you can sort of select multiple layers, but it gets really fussy. So I just work on one layer and then I can cut and move things around, because that's the tool. I'm taking full advantage of this being a digital painting. When I use Tchaikovsky, for example, I'm all about working like I'm using a piece of sheet of a paper and a pencil, and I don't like using crop tools and things. I like to rely on my ability to draw. On this painting, I took a totally different approach, and I'm very into using all of the technology to help me come to my final result. And you will see me using the cut tool a lot. When I first started, I forgot that I could move the colour palette onto the screen, so I do that in a little bit later on. And you can see here that I've got the head at this point. I'm either zoomed in a lot or the head's way too big. The issue with this video is, of course, this painting actually took me 4 hours to do. So there's no way I'm going to talk for 4 hours. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to speed it up a little bit, and every time I see something that I think needs explaining, I will stop the speeded up video and get back to you and talk for a little bit longer. But for right now, I'm going to shut up and just speed the thing along a little bit. I want to show you this bit where I choose the sort of squiggly letter S character and draw a line of marching ants around the hat, and then I can resize the hat. So you can see that I'm using the technology to reposition something, change the size of it, because the background is already painted. That's not affected at all, and I can move things around without damaging the background whatsoever, because that layer is locked down. I can be really fussy and precise about moving shapes, and that's why I didn't bother sketching this out, because I knew before I started I was going to do it this way. And you couldn't really work like this with oils or pencils. If you're using a pencil, imagine how many eraser marks you would have all over the paper to do this. So this is really a technique that I think is only really valid for digital painting, and I really like it. I'm using the same way as measuring the subject as I did. I created a video a couple of videos back on how to measure out subjects when you're using a painting app. So I'll put a link to that so you can see how I do actually measure out. But I'm using that select tool and move tool extensively throughout this video, or sorry, throughout this painting, to get things in the right place. And you'll see, if you look at the and the saucer now, if you look at that and then look at the photo, you can see it's in the wrong place. It's way too low for where it should be. It should be a little bit higher, and also Special K should be moved along slightly. There's not enough space on a right hand side. So all of these things are going to be corrected by moving objects as I'm going. And when I painted this, I mean, you imagine the scenario. It was a lovely sunny day. I was sat on I was sat on a settee in the conservatory. Kerry was sat at a table working on her iPad, drawing, and was chatting away. So it was a really nice, chilled out afternoon. We both had a lot of fun, not concentrating solely on the artwork so much as the experience of us both being together in lockdown and just chilling out. And I used to do lots and lots of painting like that. Recently, since I've started making the videos where I do the voiceover live, I haven't painted like this at all. And I just wanted to paint and not have to think about making a video or doing the voiceover. And it was really great, just sort of concentrating on the painting, chatting with Special K, and just chilling out for the afternoon. It was really cool, and this way of painting was perfect, because if I wasn't concentrating properly and I put something in the wrong place, it was dead easy for me to move. Anyway, time for me to be quiet again, and let's just speed on along and see how I get on.
Alle guten, alle bösen, folgen
So earlier I said I used 3 brushes. I used the Grunge brush for the background, the turpentine brush to get the bulk of the information in, and then I switched to the oil paint brush and for the detail. And those are the 3 brushes I use. But also I use the smudge brush, the smudge tool, and you can see I'm using the smudge tool now to in conjunction with the oil brush to smear paint. And if you're wondering what I'm actually painting, it's the handle of the cup. You can just see me working on the very fine detail of that. Just smudging and blending paint together, just pushing it around, and that way I can sort of sculpt the paint. It's almost as if you're just pushing the wet paint around on the canvas with the paintbrush, and I do that a lot. So I just wanted to slow it back down so you could see me doing that, because it's not just all about painting all the time. I do use that blending tool quite a lot, and I also use it when I'm moving shapes around and I cut them out and I want to sort of fill in the gaps between where I've resized something. I will use the blending tool as well. Anyway, let's speed it up again. At this point, I have a finished painting, but it's all a bit flat, and I think it needs some shape putting into it in the forms of shadows and things. So what I do, I need to create a new layer, which I've already done actually, and set the blend mode to multiply. And you can see I'm starting to paint the shadows on this new layer, and that just makes the whole thing pop. And you can see I've sort of painted on the hat and just under her head a little bit of shadow. And what I do, I start off by tweaking the color and the opacity to get that just right. I'm changing the opacity of the brush at this stage rather than the opacity of the layer, just to get the shadows looking right. And then I start working on the whole of the painting, just darkening up, and way darker, I think, perhaps than the actual photo, but it just adds a little bit more drama and shape to the whole of the painting, and just makes it all pop and become a little bit more vibrant. So you can see I'm working in here, working on the face, just getting those shadows in, painting them into the air. And you'll see, because I've got the blend mode switched on, the blend mode set to multiply, whatever colour I paint over, it glows through. And I change the colour between sort of purples and reds depending where I'm working, so that the shadow is more appropriate to the area I'm working on. And just look at the eye, how that's sort of really giving it some form by just putting that little bit of shadow on the eyeball. And I spent probably 45 minutes or so painting the shadows on the whole of the painting. So I'm going to crack on again. And one more thing I just want to say, if you look at the detail on the coat, notice how I've not sort of gone crazy and tried to get it all in. I just wanted to point that out. I just put in a few indications and a few key points on the coat. Look, you can see it now, that I thought sort of gave it that look of the sort of gold cotton stitched into the coat. Anyway, I'm going to crack on and get all of these shadows in and take you to the end of the painting. So there we have it, a very personal painting of Special K, of us sitting in the conservatory painting together, and hopefully I showed you a few tips and tricks of how to use the cut selection tool to help you move objects around and things. And hopefully you've enjoyed this painting. Probably have, if you've stayed with me right to the end. Thanks a lot for doing that. If you enjoyed it, Please give me a thumbs up as always, much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing because I've got over 450 videos just like this. And I would love to be sharing them with you. And don't forget everybody, stay safe, stay sane, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.